Hey everyone, welcome back to today's Explainer. We are taking a massive global news cycle today and breaking it all down into clear, structured insights that you can actually use. So let's get right to it.
We have got a packed lineup. Today we are covering global tensions in politics, AI and cybersecurity updates, markets, mergers, and the economy, space and science breakthroughs, and we'll wrap things up with sports and weather extremes.
All right, part one, global tensions and politics. Diplomacy and friction on the world stage. You get what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz right now, because we're seeing a really stark contrast in public posturing. On one hand, President Trump is boldly claiming the area as new U.S. territory and totally shutting down the idea of any negotiations. But Iran, they are completely brushing that off, insisting the U.S. is actually using back channels and begging to talk. And this is where it gets really interesting. Senior advisor Jared Kushner is out there saying communications between the U.S. and Iran are more robust than ever. It's a huge disconnect, right? There is a very sharp line between what we're seeing in public declarations and what's apparently happening behind closed diplomatic doors. And the disruption really doesn't stop there. We've got the U.S. suddenly hitting pause on those 50% Canadian tariffs after a last-minute deal. At the exact same time, the U.S. is slapping sanctions on the ICC president and senior prosecutor. Over in the Middle East, deadly Israeli strikes left 7 Palestinians dead in Gaza, plus Russia's throwing new threats at the UK over recent strikes on Moscow. Oh, and right here at home, some absolutely massive upsets just went down in the Wyoming Senate primaries. Moving on to Section 2, AI and cybersecurity updates, where rapid advancements are meeting some critical vulnerabilities.
So, the frontier of AI just hit a massive literal pause button. OpenAI has actually stopped training their new Astra model. Why? Because their internal tests flagged a terrifying risk. The system might actually be able to develop zero-day cyber exploits entirely on its own with zero human guidance. That is wild.
And honestly, the current threat landscape is already chaotic enough without AI going rogue. Enterprise tech giants are just scrambling right now. Microsoft is patching this Copilot co-snitch data exfiltration flaw, and Apple is rushing out emergency fixes for a zero-click spyware risk. And while they're putting out those fires, a Chinese lab called ZI just released an open-weight model that comes with some seriously advanced cyber capabilities right out of the box. To run all this crazy new tech, you obviously need chips. And that hardware is getting a lot pricier. Samsung is hiking its advanced chip-making prices by up to 15% because global capacity is tightening up fast. That is absolutely going to ripple through the whole industry. All right, let's pivot to Section 3, markets, mergers, and the economy. So how's the broader market reacting to all this? Well, the S&P 500 actually jumped up. The Treasury pulled a major economic lever by signaling a huge expansion of their debt buybacks. That basically eased up a ton of yield pressure on U.S. equities right away. And consumer spending? It's looking incredibly resilient. Target just absolutely crushed their Q2 expectations with earnings of $4.11 per share. And they even raised their full-year guidance. Now all eyes are on Walmart, who is expected to report near $186.5 billion in revenue tomorrow. To put that in perspective, that is an astronomical amount of money flowing through retail. But if you want to talk about explosive growth, check this out. A robotics company called Unitree just had one of the craziest market debuts we have seen in a long time. Their stock surged 629% on the STAR market. For a brief moment, the company was valued at a staggering $66 billion. Just unbelievable. Meanwhile, over in the entertainment world, things are a lot more stressful. Paramount is under immense financial pressure right now, trying to save their $111 billion mega merger with Warner Bros. Discovery. Starting October 1st, they get hit with a brutal ticking fee of $7 million every single day. And that is months before their anti-trial even starts next March. The clock is literally ticking for them. Okay, let's step away from the financial markets for a second. Section 4, Space and Science Breakthroughs. This one is mind-bending. Astronomers have found the fastest-moving star ever identified, and it is located right near the supermassive black hole at the center of our Milky Way. It's a discovery that gives us a totally new perspective on the insane gravitational forces operating at the core of our galaxy. Bring it a bit closer to Earth, SpaceX just hit 100 launches for 2026. This is their 3rd straight year hitting that century milestone. They are just operating on a totally different scale at this point. And physical innovation is scaling up everywhere else too. Landspace just became the first Chinese private company to recover an orbital-class booster. Amazon is expanding its Prime Air drone deliveries to nearly 500 U.S. cities, so get ready to see more of those in the sky. Anthro Energy just broke ground on a massive 25 gigawatt-hour battery plant in Kentucky. Plus, Oregon is now releasing real-world data from its legal psilocybin therapeutic program. It is a wave of breakthroughs across the board.
Finally, let's bring it all back down to the ground. Section 5. Sports and Weather Extremes.
Right now, the U.S. is basically sliced up by extreme weather. The southern plains are baking under a massive heat dome with sustained temps well over 100 degrees. Down in Florida, the heat index is creating dangerous feels-like temperatures up to 110. Up in the Midwest and Ohio Valley, a cold front is setting off some really volatile, severe storms. But if you happen to be in the Northeast, you're actually enjoying a perfectly quiet, stable, and seasonal week.
In the sports world, we saw a day of total extremes as well. The 79th Little League World Series just opened, with Nicaragua pulling off a tight 2-1 win over the Dominican Republic. On the flip side of tight games, the Milwaukee Brewers pitched an absolute historic blowout, crushing the Mariners 22-0. Tempers were flaring in the NFL, where a massive brawl broke out at a joint practice between the Cowboys and the Saints. And in baseball, MLB owners unanimously approved the sale of the San Diego Padres, right as the team is surging, winning 15 of their last 19 games to shake up the wildcard race.
So what does this all mean for us? As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about how these pieces fit together. How does a 15% price hike on microchips, an AI model that could go rogue, and a closed-door diplomatic channel all end up colliding to shape our future? Because they will. Thanks for joining me for today's explainer, and keep questioning what's on the horizon. See you next time.